Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's show, the Beautifully Bruised and CPS show. I am your host, Latrika Jones. I am so happy to be sitting in front of you today. Welcome to Monday. What? Monday motivation, okay? Normally, after a long weekend, I don't know if yours, was a good weekend or was it considered a bad weekend or, you wish you were still in the weekend. No matter what the case may be, I just wanted to say welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for tuning in to our show today. Anyone knows that watches a show that before I start any segment, I always give glory and honor to my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ because He has given me the strength to be sitting in front of you today to be able to have overcome CPS and different things, obstacles, challenges, setbacks, distractions. And listen, the karma can go on and on and on with different things the devil try to throw away. So I give God all the glory and all the honor. So I definitely give praise where praise is due. Also, I want to tell you today that I just wanted to share something that's been on my mind. And, it's something that I think a lot of people sometimes may not really tap into that can really make a difference in your life. I'm going to be having a very special guest coming on Friday, so please tune in. She has actually been, dealing with CPS currently as we speak. And her situation with CPS is that she's going through the bullying phase where they're trying to threaten to take her child away, right? And anybody that knows that, they know how CPS, the ones who does not operate out of integrity, that they would definitely throw their weight around and they would definitely try to bring things into your life to bully you, to make you question your ability as a parent, and also to violate your rights as a parent. So it's very, very important that you tune into that show on this coming Friday. You will be amazed by some of the things that they're putting her through. She's being threatened and bullied by, and actually to me, I'm no attorney. I'm just a mother who overcame CPS, that survived CPS and overcame CPS. And that's why I'm sitting in front of you today. Attorney Vince had asked me to come on to share my story, and I'm very willing to do so. Anything that it will help anyone come out of that chair and out of those court hearings without having to deal with those caseworkers and those services, and to be able to come back home and their children to come back home where they belong. Okay. I am more than willing to give my time and share my experience to help bring, healing to a family that's been broken, that's been divided, and that needs to be restored. Okay. So with that being said, I would love to just title this show segment today called Relationships. Okay, because we're all affected by some type of relationships, no matter if they're relationships that's in the family. It can be relationships that, in your own personal life, your husband and your wife. It could be, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your baby daddy, your baby mama. Listen, we don't exempt. Relationships are relationships. But what's so important to know about relationships, that you have to make sure that you're with the right person. There are so many people that will pretend to be something that they're truly not, just to be in your life, just to be connected to you for whatever shape, form, or fashion. You have relationships sometimes that's considered toxic relationships. You have some relationships sometimes that's even considered to be counterfeits. These are normally relationships where people are pretending to be something that they're really not, just for their own personal gain. And I love when children, or to me, God give them so much wisdom. Sometimes they can see things that parents can't see, right? Sometimes they can see things that, we might overlook because we are emotionally involved. Kids normally can see, it's another word that they use, which is called discernment. I don't know if anyone have ever heard the word discernment, but if you have not, it's a great word. You might want to look. Better yet, I just share with you what it basically means. Kind of paraphrasing the word, but basically it's just insight. Sometimes even if you can't see it with your physical eye, God can give you an insight of intuition. I'm sure you've heard the word intuition, when something normally don't feel right or something don't look right, or it doesn't even seem right. It's normally a reason why you feel that way, even though you don't see anything to validate that. And I've seen children also that if they can pick up a bad vibe from a person in a relationship, maybe it's your boyfriend or your girlfriend, I wouldn't really not listen to that child is basically what I'm saying. You might want to listen to the child because they actually might be onto something that you might want to be aware of. Again, we're not, this world we're living in, we all know that people are not always honest, right? They're not always putting their best foot forward. And sometimes people are in it only for their own selfish gains. They only in it for what they can get out of the relationship. Sometimes people pretend like they like your kids, and truthfully and sadly, they really don't. They're just going along with it just because they might want to be with you for whatever that's giving them, and they're pretending to be they like your children in the process of it all. Okay. Sometimes, if you hear kids say, hey, such and such, he act different when you're not around, or she acts different when you're not around. Aretha Smith, good morning and happy Monday. Good morning, Aretha. I'm so glad you're tuning in today. Aretha is someone, I love her energy. I love her strength. I love how she loves her family. I love how she's so supportive, and she's really a lot of help too. So Aretha, thank you so much for tuning in today. You're always appreciated. Your heart is in a good place, and I know how much you love your family, and know I'm praying for you and your family as well. Also, we have a real human. Hope I'm saying that correctly. That's a cool phrase. You remember that when somebody that's something you'll easily remember saying out. I just want to say that they say they just my weekend visits away with my daughter and put me back on monitor. They have not returned her, but they have returned my two sons during custody. Well, I'm just going to first and foremost say thank God that they have returned your two sons, and you're saying that they haven't brought your daughter back. They went from my daughter. Well, that's interesting. It seemed like they reverted back. I'm gonna read the next one. They just my weekend visits away with my daughter and put me back on monitor. Okay, I see what they're saying. They have not returned her, but they have returned my two sons joint custody. Now, what I can say that I do notice, I have, and it's very interesting. I do not understand CPS and the way they do certain things. Trust me, I don't. I've also been a victim to CPS where my son was taken away years ago, but by the grace and mercy in God, he was returned back home where he belonged. Okay, that's gonna be my anthem for this show. Okay. I'm gonna have to give me some theme music to go along with that slogan. Okay, return our kids back home where they belong. Okay, that part. So with that being said, okay, I just want to tell you that don't give up, don't throw in the towel, because I have seen things like that occur. Do you know, even though, and I just want to share this with you because I hope it encourages you, that my child, that they said that to them, I guess they felt like, well, they did. They tried to order a $10,000 brain test because I guess they were saying psychologically or mentally that I was incompetent of taking care of my child. Okay. But what I tell you that even though with that being said, they was willing to spend $10,000 to go along with their narrative. And I'm speaking in reference to my CPS caseworker. Okay. By the grace and mercy of God, my counselor said she did not see fit for them to order any type of brain test for me, no less than spending $10,000 for a brain test using government funds that need to be going somewhere else where children could be more useful and helpful, even the parents and families, help these families and their bills are going through temporary hardships. Put that money towards something like that. Put it towards some children so they can go to summer camp and that's getting ready to get out for school, to buy them books and computers and laptops. Use those money for better resources, okay, than spending $10,000 on a brain test. I'm no scientist, I'm no genius, but I do know when I went to college and studied psychology, I was on a dean's list twice. And normally that happens when you have a brain, okay? Not that your brain is not working properly. And that something has changed since I've been in school, okay? And if it has, please send me the memo about that. But again, use those funds to necessary places like with children and families that need assistance. So I'm sorry, going back to what I was previously saying, Not meaning to get off the subject, but I just want to share with you, by them telling me that, do you know they allowed my child to come go to church with me on the weekends? That was lit. I kid you not. They allowed my child, because they know I go to church. I'm a believer in God. And they know how much I go to church. And honestly, going to church is what helped me get through all the hell, all the rhetoric, all the chaos, all the shenanigans, all the things that they were putting me through. I'm telling you, my attorney told me there must be a God listening to your prayers, because literally everything they're trying to do to you, everything is falling to the ground. Like every ammunition, every weapon form, nothing worked. And it is a scripture that says in the Bible, the arrows may form, but guess what? They won't prosper. So I recommend that you stay encouraged. Don't give up. And I just hope, again, thank you so much for tuning into this show, because that's telling us and everybody else that you are taking on. You're being accountable for doing all you can as a parent and learning as much as you can to make sure your child come back home where they belong. Your daughter coming back home with their brothers. And I am in agreement with you that child, your daughter, will be returned back home. And I will be praying for you as well, because I know prayer changes things. And my prayer is the same prayer that went forth when the CPS tried to keep my child away. I kept praying. I kept going to church. So I just want to tell you this. Don't be discouraged, because again, they tried to make it seem like I wasn't even capable, right, of raising my child. But yet and still, they would allow my child to have visits to come home with me so we can go to church together. You know what? I hope you people realize that CPS is not something that's normal. Okay. Don't think it's supposed to make sense, because why? It doesn't. I've even heard Attorney Vince say himself that don't think like this is something that's normal and you can just talk your way out of a normal situation. Absolutely not. You could be doing everything that they've asked you to do and then some, and then something, some kind of way ends up not adding up, or something that was promised to you that you would have, which is your kids, more visitation rights, even getting to a place where you can see your kids without supervised visits. And it seemed like the process has stopped altogether, or it has not, or it has been delayed. But I assure you that don't give up. Why? Because God has the final answer. Sometimes they take you through tests to try to throw you off, to see what you're going to do, to try to see if you're going to become angry, to see if you're going to become discouraged, to see if you're even going to quit. Don't let it stop you. Let that make you, let that motivate you to keep going with a smile. When I sat in some of those court cases and I seen the CPS attorney, she would give me the side eye. And we all know what the side eye is, right? That's where you get a look sideways, trying to figure somebody out. But you know what I kept doing? I meted her with a smile, because my grandmother, 106-year-old grandmother, Rosalie Jones, who raised me, have always said, Trika, you get more bees with honey. And I've never seen that fail. And what that means, getting more bees with honey, is more goodness, more sweetness in that honey. Okay. So where the devil's trying to come in and discourage you, to make you mad, to make you sad, to make you give up, just meet him with a smile. Okay. Just meet him with that good old honey smile. I was being watched, but I kept reading my books of encouragement. I kept reading my books of self-help, self-motivation. Literally, I would be in court and some of these hearings, instead of me being mad, instead of me not showing up, instead of me being late, instead of me mean mugging them, I would be in there reading. Why? Because knowledge is power. Transparency transforms. And isn't that interesting? Isn't it ironic that they tried to test me, saying my brain wasn't working correctly, but at the same time I'm in these hearings reading my books that deals with my brain. In order to read, you got to have a brain, right? So it should have been obvious my brain was working okay. But still they tried it. They will try it. And again, I cannot emphasize enough. I thank everybody from Aretha to the other person that shared their message. I'm praying. I know how the devil tries to distract us and throw us off. As long as you're doing everything they ask you to do, you're showing up at your visits. Obviously, if you have your other two kids, why in the world would they not want to give you the other one? I promise you, I do not understand that. I've heard other families before say, hey, I got one of my kids, but my other kids, they haven't given me back yet. Okay, please, if somebody know, if I'm trying to understand, seriously, if I'm good enough for one of my kids, why am I not good enough for the other kid? And I had both of the children. They all was raised in the same home. They all have the same family. However the case may be, they're both your kids, right? Whether they're a boy and a girl or two boys and two girls. Why in the world? This is not a 2-for-1. This is not buy one get one free, buy one get one half off. We're not in a grocery store. We're not buying produce. We're not doing none of those shenanigans. These are real lives. These are real hearts and souls that belong home where they belong. Send these babies back home where they belong, okay? Enough is enough of this foolishness. Enough is enough of these shenanigans. And again, I am not speaking to all CPS caseworkers. Let me make myself clear. I am speaking to the caseworkers who lack integrity. I am speaking to the ones that are only doing their job for money, power, and politics. They're only doing their jobs to get an incentive, to get a bonus. If you're not doing it for the right reason, will you please exit to the nearest left and let somebody in that's willing to come in to evaluate this situation, to know what's best for the kids. If you see the parents are doing the work, if you see there's a family member while the parents are going through services, and there's a family member that wants to step in and allow the child to move in with them, give that family that opportunity, okay? If they pass their background checks, if there's nothing, if you've been over to the home and there's nothing severe or detrimental that will put that child's life in danger, and they've done all the things you've asked, allow that child to move in with that family. Statistics show that these children that are placed in foster care are normally much better with their family than they are in foster care. Okay. So let's do the right thing. I don't know who's watching, but I know on YouTube, millions of people all over the world tune in to different shows. I thank God for Attorney Vince. I thank God for the producer Grace and for the people that's coming together as a team to bring on knowledge, to bring on wisdom, to bring on education, so families will be more equipped to know how to go into those courtrooms and know how to conduct themselves accordingly when they're dealing with their caseworkers. Okay, knowledge is power. Trust me, transparency transforms. Okay, so I thank God for this platform. I wish I would have had it years ago where I could like tune in and to hear some things. Even when Attorney Vince comes on this show, he's even in some of the shorts that are being shown throughout the day, great wisdom, great nuggets, great advice. Some of those same things you can use in your cases. I kid you not. I've seen certain things when Grace and the Attorney Vince, and they show some of the short reels that is showed on YouTube that is educational. It's something that can help you win your case. So I tell anybody to tune into this platform. It's 24/7. Like, share, subscribe, call in. If there's something you're dealing with, if you want to be a guest on the show, I have another family that she's really fighting for her kids. She's taken on to be an advocate to help families. She even have families that she recommended to come on the show. Actually, one of the families is coming on Friday. She's going to come on, and I'm telling y'all, you're going to be blown by the things that her caseworker that lacks integrity that is actually putting her through. And she's going to come on Friday to share her story. So, and you will be surprised, since iron sharpens irons, to have other families that's coming on. It shares and shows that you're not alone, that you're not in this by yourself. Sometimes with me, it makes me feel more like connected, that I don't feel like I'm just this lost cause out in the world, that nobody cares about me or my children. There are other people that's going through some of the same things that you're going through, maybe even worse, sadly, in some cases. So please tune in. You never know when there's a nugget or when there's some wisdom or when there's some legal advice like Attorney Vince shares from time to time that can actually help you in your own case. You will be surprised so many people that have CPS cases. I know that I'm located here in the state of Texas, and it has shown that Texas has not only the highest CPS cases, but unfortunately some of the highest things that occur that tries to keep children from being returned back home. But guess what? That devil is a liar, because we're going to do our part as a parent. Again, nobody is perfect but Jesus. We all may have fallen short and made mistakes, but does that make us not fit to keep our kids? Absolutely not. Everybody has made mistakes. Again, memo, news briefing, news alert. The only person, the only one that is perfect is Jesus. Humans are not perfect, okay? Including people that works for CPS. None of us are perfect. We all have to ask God for grace, and we all need his mercy. And I'm so grateful that God's mercy and grace is renewed every morning, okay? Because it's needed. Why do you think God does that? Let's just think about that for a minute. Let's be honest. Why do you think God gives grace and mercy? Why is it renewed every morning? Think about that. You know why it's renewed. If you don't already know, it's because he know people fall short. He know that people sometimes may not make the best decisions. Sometimes people, might just, not that your heart is not right. It's not that you're not wanting to do the right thing. Like I spoke up earlier, you could be connected in a wrong relationship. Relationships start when you're first born. Okay, with your family. You could have been born into a toxic relationship. You could have been born into a toxic family, even, that you might not have learned of some of the things that you should be aware of, with yourself, even, how you should handle yourself, things you should do with your children. Again, like I say, brand new mercy and grace is given every day, because God knew we were going to need it, right? God knew that even if it's something that you didn't do, it could have been someone you was connected to. It could have been a family member that's calling CPS on you. Do you know that happens? A family member can call CPS on you just because they don't like you. Okay. And it has nothing to do with the children. And anybody that can attest to that, you can chime in, you can comment, you can call, you can be a guest. If you have been personally a victim to CPS, and it's nothing that you personally did, it's just a family member or an ex or someone of that status just didn't like you, and they use CPS as a weapon. Okay. And when they come in, and by law, I've heard that they have to do investigations, right? The CPS has to come in and investigate you because they just want to make for sure that there is nothing that's really taking place, or what was called in about you. They're just going to make sure that that's not true. But I have had CPS workers on the show before that have shared that they can normally tell when someone is just calling in and using CPS as a weapon against you. And once that is detected and determined, that they will, end the investigation, okay, and close out the file, close out the case, thank God. And even here in the state of Texas, if people don't know, that it's becoming so much of an epidemic that people are using CPS as a weapon just because they may not like you. It might be an ex that don't like you. It might be a strange family member that don't like you. When they find out, and anyone want to know more about it, I would be more than glad to share that information. But once they find out that there was really no merit for a CPS to be investigated, you're wasting CPS, the government time and energy of coming to bothering you, invading your family, you and your children. And they realize a person just did that out of being malicious, out of just being foul, out of just being evil and wicked, that in the state of Texas, they're implementing, if they find that out to be true, that person is going to jail. Okay. And I'm serious. I have read this and I can share more information if needed, but that's how bad it is that people are using CPS as a weapon against innocent people just because they don't like them. That's personal. That is not a CPS case. That's something that, you're in your feelings and your emotions, and you need to get up out of them, because you are affecting families. And most importantly, you're putting children in harm's way if you bring on false allegations that's not true. So prayerfully, that'll put a stop to that nonsense, so children and families don't have to be a victim to CPS being used as a weapon. Okay. And with that being said, I'm going to come back to the topic, which is relationships, right? Relationships. I want to tell you, CPS will take your children if they believe that you're in a relationship with somebody that could be detrimental, that can be harmful, and that could be hurtful to your kids. And trust me, I don't know if you got a chance to watch the last guest. Candace Odom was another great show segment. Listen, CPS wanted her to remove her husband, not her baby daddy, not her boyfriend, okay, not her ex, but this was her husband from her household because they felt like he was abusing the child. And come to find out, thank God, Candace Odom knew her rights as a parent, and she sought wise legal counsel. She hired an attorney that was able to prove her case, was showing that her husband did not abuse their child. Her child just dealt with something, dealing with kind of like special needs with the child that they wasn't aware of, and whatever the was able on the child was due to what happened from the crib, and it wasn't due to his dad, and her husband was not the person that caused it. They found out it was from the crib, and thank God she had wise legal attorney, wise legal counsel that was able to supply and provide the evidence to the judge in the court hearing. And once she supplied that substantial evidence, it showed that the dad, her husband, was not guilty of hurting the child, and the child was released back home where he belonged. Okay, I'm beginning to love to say that segment. Okay, I don't know if you can tell, but listen, I'm telling you, I am on fire because I know God is going to do some great things in our lives. I do believe determination. I do believe perseverance. I do believe if you don't quit, you don't give up, you don't throw in the towel. I do believe that God is restoring us. This is Monday motivation. This is the Monday that you're going to be motivated to get back in the ring, to get back up, to stay inspired, to stay encouraged, to know that your child will be coming back home where they belong. Okay, just know that it's not over yet. Just know that God has the final answer. Don't put a period where there should be a comma. I don't care how bad it looks. I'm telling you, like my attorney told me, girl, you have been through the fire. You have been through the worst of the worst. She told me that. She said, you know what? When you come out of this, you're going to be just like that junkyard dog that had those bits of pieces of plug bit out of the dog. When he went through the neighborhood, it seemed like all the dogs attacked him. All the dogs had jumped on him. And when he finally came out of that neighborhood, he was walking with a limp. But you know what? Guess what? He came out the neighborhood. My attorney said, you coming out the neighborhood with your child. And guess what? That's exactly what happened. I might have had another little. Listen, I might have been walking a little slower. Okay, I might have had a few cuts and bruises, but guess what? They didn't all healed up because those scars then turned into scars. And that's why I'm on this show today, to encourage you, to motivate you, to tell you to keep going. Just because they have your two boys at home, guess what? Be prepared for your daughter to come home too. Because again, as long as you're doing everything you're supposed to do, and most important, let me also say this, put God in front of it. Pray about that thing. Take it to God. Take it to the throne. Fall down on your knees. Sometimes you can't talk to people about what you're going through, but the beauty of it is God is always listening. God is always there, and He cares. Okay, so what I'm telling you, what seemed too big for you, what seemed impossible to you, it is not too big for our God. Matter of fact, it's just right. Do you hear me? So I'm telling you, put some Jesus on that thing. You keep going. You keep doing the work. You don't quit. You stay encouraged. You stay inspired. I would beat them to some of those court visits. They might say such and such, you weren't supposed to be here to such and such time. You're early. Say, that's okay. I wanted to be. I wanted to be here to see my child. I wanted to be here to bring that gift my child likes. Even in your court hearings, go early. You'll be surprised that people are looking at you. I told my son this yesterday after we were leaving church, that the way you appear. First impressions go a long way. They look at how you carry yourself. That's something my attorney told me. When you go in court, don't just throw on any old thing when you go in court, okay? Don't put on that t-shirt that says God knows what. I'm not saying you can't wear the t-shirt, but wear it when you get back home, okay? Wear it back when you get home. Don't wear it in that courtroom, I'm sorry. Go look in your best. Go look in your Sunday's best. How about that? Go there and listen. I'm telling you, I will make sure when your children that I know you love and you care about, and that's why you're tuning in today. That's why you're doing the work, because that's why you're putting your best foot forward, right? That's why you're doing the services. That's why you're doing what they're asking you to do. While you're doing that, when you show up in those hearings, a person can look at your countenance and tell how you're feeling, what you're going through. And you might be going through some of the worst days of your life, but you ain't got to show it. You ain't got to show what you're going through. You can still go in there with a smile. Even once that hearing is over with and you get in your car and you got to cry down the street. I've done it. Many a days I didn't like. I said, Lord, what just happened? Like, it's almost like I feel like I'm in the Wizard of Oz. What in the world is happening? But when I tell you, God is a sustainer. God will do the unthinkable. God can do the impossible. Where it looked too hard for man, it's not too hard for God. Guess what? God is also watching you. He's seeing, are you showing up? Are you going to your court hearings? Are you doing your tests? Are you going to your meetings? Are you meeting your children? You know what? Don't let them see you sweat. I'm talking about sweat. Don't let them see you sweat. It is not over yet. I assure you of that. It was many of times where I just didn't know, God, I don't know if I'm going to make it out of this one. But look at me sitting in front of you today. Okay? God is proof. I am, God, I'm a living testimony that God can see you through this thing. I know your children mean a lot to you. I know you love your children. I was the same way. I said, God, if it takes my last breath to get my child out of this vicious, corrupt, broken system of CPS, then so be it. I am going to be the curse breaker. I'm going to break this generational curse. The devil is a liar. They will not have my children. And trust me, my child was temporarily taken away from me, but I didn't give up. I didn't get discouraged. I prayed more. I seek God face more. I went to church. I was probably one of the first ones in the church house to get prayer. Sometimes you'll be surprised just connecting to people that you know that really cares about what you're going through, how they can encourage you, how they can inspire you, that you can be motivated. Along with that, seek wise legal counseling. If you can't get attorney events, look around. Sometimes they have things like legal aid where you might can't afford a certain attorney, but some attorneys will allow you to work out payment plans. If they see that you really care about your children, you're doing all you can, you're giving it all you got, you never know how God can touch their heart where they're willing to work with you. With my attorney here in Texas, at the time, CPS took away everything I had. Everything I had value, my assets, everything. But my attorney, when I shared my story, when I showed up all my business, when I would be there and shared my heart and how I was trying to get my child back, she worked with me, y'all. She worked with me, and she was considered probably more one of a high-end attorney that most people would be intimidated by, or my church had recommended me to her. At the time, she told me she was busy, but I didn't give up. I didn't quit. I kept pursuing her, and I didn't have all the money. But guess what? She's seen how determined I was to not give up until that. Guess what? She represented me, and she basically, oh my God, y'all. I'm telling you, with the evidence she presented to court, it was evidence that I didn't even know about. And once she presented to the court, CPS literally act like they didn't know about, but which I really think they did. But okay, it doesn't matter anymore because this was years ago. But the judge even said that I can't touch the evidence that your attorney has provided. And CPS, she basically told CPS, what y'all have been doing, you no longer can get away with. Let that child be returned back home where he belongs. So again, that is why it's so important to have an attorney, because it's not that you're not capable, but a lot of times, you know what, they may have knowledge or have access to information that you're not privy to, that you might not know of, and it could be what's needed to get your kids back home just like that and turn that case back around, or to be able to get those visits back, those unsupervised visits back home to you with your children. Okay, so knowledge is power. Do your work. Try to see if you can get an attorney. Do all you can to tap in to get that wise legal counsel. Stay encouraged. Do not give up. Do not put a period where there should be a comma, because God is not through writing your story. The best is still yet to come. Keep God first. Don't ever give up fighting for your children. Know that I am praying for you. You are not alone, and that story is not over. Keep God first. Watch and see how God will turn that story around. Just because they're not there yet, your kids or your family, your nieces, your nephews, your daughters, your sons are not there yet, don't mean they're not going to come. It's just only a matter of time. And watch and see, if you keep God first, how he can turn that thing around for you for the good. So I am your host, Latrika Jones. Thank you so much for tuning in. You have a blessed week, and until next time.